Is Travel Tuesday, and I am super excited because I have another guest for you. And Corinne is coming to us straight from Ireland, and my Irish accent is horrible since I'm such a good New Yorker who lives in Austin. So I'm all messed up. But I wanted to bring in Corinne, who is my eyes and ears on the ground for Ireland. And she is truly an amazing woman who has lots of experience, loves her country, and is going to share lots of secrets with us.
That's right, and thank you for having me, Lulu. I'm delighted to be presenting to Give Here.
Yeah, awesome. So we're super excited to have you. So do you want to introduce yourself a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of get into your presentation?
Very good. Well, if you want to show the first slide, I studied at Trinity College and I grew up in Dublin, Ireland. And Trinity is a 400-year-old university. And I spent 15 years marketing Irish cheeses. So I travelled the country a lot during that time. And that was before setting up my business, Ireland Less Travelled. I also lived in Boston, just outside Boston, for 5 years, almost 20 years ago. So I love the States, but I haven't actually been to Texas, but I've been to many other parts. Well, and 2 years ago, I trained to be a tour guide. I had been organising tours for a number of years, so I took the qualification 2 years ago, and I also studied genealogy last year.
That's so awesome.
So that's me for the moment.
Yay!
If you want to go on to the next slide.
Okay.
A Céad Míle Fáilte is what you'll get if you come to Ireland. It means 100,000 welcomes. And you're assured of that if you decide to visit. What makes us special is that we're an island off the Atlantic Ocean, not much more than 300 miles long and 200 miles wide. So it is a very small island, and the population is 6.5 million, and 1.5 million of those people are in the north of Ireland. We have 32 counties, and 6 of the counties are in the north of Ireland. But don't be deceived, because many people think that you can see Ireland in 4 or 5 days. But the good scenery and many of the good places to visit are along the west coast and along the coast. And there's lots of little peninsulas and just two-way roads and frequently one-lane highway or one-lane road. So don't be perceived that you can see it in a short space of time. You do need some time.
Awesome. And so I'm going to flip over to a video now that you wanted to share with us.
Very good.
So I am going to hide.
Yeah, that's about the Wild Atlantic Way.
Yeah, and so I'm excited to share that. So with that, give me 1 second here while I move my screen over.
Yeah, the map showed that Dublin is the capital city and Belfast is the second largest city. And there's a few other cities like Cork and Galway and Limerick. And then Waterford was the first city to be founded. It's over 1,000 years old, and it was founded when the Vikings invaded. And some people will know of Waterford Crystal, which is very famous.
So awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video.
Okay, great.
And away we go. What an amazing video to watch to start our day.
Oh, good. I'm glad you all enjoyed it.
How awesome is that? So we're going to go back to our little presentation here, and I am excited to really kind of bring back all, obviously the map, so people can see all of those moving pieces that we just saw.
That's right.
1 second.
We also
here.
have our own Irish language, which we all learn in school, and that has really shaped who we are, because we have a lot of history, as you know, and it's shaped the culture and the music and the food and the drink, and that combined with being an island nation makes us very unique, I think.
Yeah, and that's super awesome. So I love that you guys are definitely have a lot of uniqueness, and there's also a lot of genealogy available, because there's so many Irish that actually came to the States, and they all came through various different modes of transportation, but mainly by boat back in the day, and there's a lot of learnings.
That's true, because the population was 8 million during the famine, and over 1 million people left and went to either the United States or Canada. So that hence we have over 40 million Irish Americans now. And obviously over the years, that's a lot of visitors and people who have an interest in seeing where their relatives came from. And I do recommend that if you have any Irish ancestors, it's good to visit where they came from. And if we have a bit of notice, we can look into that for you.
That's awesome.
And help you. I think you'll feel a connection with the place. And, it's a small enough country that we can fit that into any itinerary. So I would recommend it. The records are not great going back before 1850, but still there's enough there. It's something to go on. You'd be surprised how much you can find.
Absolutely. And today with Ancestry DNA and 23andMe and all these other DNA programs that are out there, it is, everybody's kind of linked some way, somehow. So
that's it. The world is getting smaller.
Exactly. So, and with that, let's start talking a little bit about Cork and Kinsdale.
Okay, well, Cork is the largest county in Ireland, and there's a city of Cork as well, but it's known as the gourmet capital of Ireland. And that's for a number of reasons. There's a lot of farms in Cork. It's good land and everything, and then they have the sea and lots of fishing ports. So the Jameson distillery there in the picture is in East Cork, and it's over 200 years old, so that's a nice visit. And then the town of Kinsale is pictured there, and that's a gourmet town. There's lots of little windy streets, cobble streets and galleries, and plenty of restaurants of all types. And then they have the Slow Food Festival there, usually in October, and other food festivals. So it's no surprise that it's called the gourmet capital of Ireland.
And that's awesome, and all that food looks so yummy.
Yeah, there's plenty of seafood, very fresh seafood. And most restaurants would list their suppliers, and they try to work with local suppliers.
That's awesome. So it's also meat to table and farm to table food. So that's awesome.
That's it. And as well, there's plenty of vegan and vegetarian menus available or options available. So those are being well catered for now. And also gluten-free is another. You'll find that on every menu, really.
And that's awesome. So nobody will go hungry in Ireland.
No, I don't think so.
So now we move on to Kerry and its 3 peninsulas.
Yes, well, Kerry's probably the best known county for tourism, and it's very suitable for families. And there's lots of different types of accommodation available, from 5-star to glamping and bed and breakfast. There's just so much available there. The first peninsula borders with Cork, and that's called the Beara Peninsula, and that would be very much along the road for the less travelled. It's beautiful scenery, but not everybody goes there. But the next famous peninsula is the Ring of Kerry. And many people like to say that they've completed the Ring of Kerry. It takes about 8 hours. It's a full day trip to do that. But that would include stopping at some of the many attractions. And one of the things that I like to do along the Ring of Kerry is to see a sheepdog demonstration. And if you have children or teenagers, it's very educational to see that. It's just a simple activity, but to see a farmer and his sheepdog working the sheep it's very, very unique, I think.
Absolutely. And not only that, but as you mentioned, it's very educational. So, especially now in the days of homeschooling, you're going to get not only a history class, but a science class combined. So, it really is an amazing opportunity to combine just so many different things in life and have that life experience.
That's it. And there would be some open farms as well where you can bring, younger children to see the animals, the lambs and a cow being milked and things. So it's very educational.
That's super awesome.
The lakes of Killarney are very famous. So there'd be kayaking and fishing going on there. And if you just want to go back to the last slide for a minute, if that's possible. And in the video, we saw the Skellig Michael with the little huts, which date back to the 8th and 9th century. The monks lived out there and until they were plundered. But it's become more famous recently because 2 Star Wars movies were made there in the last 10 years. So the whole area down in South Kerry has become, lots of a pilgrimage really for Star Wars fans.
But I know Star Wars fans, just film fans in general, there's so much stuff that's filmed in Ireland.
Yes, and even in the other slide, the top left corner, that's the Dingle Peninsula. And the beach there, the Golden Beach, is where Ryan's Daughter was filmed many years ago. It took a long time to make it.
That's awesome. So, oops, I went the wrong way. And
that's okay.
So
we're moving up along the coast of County Clare, and the Shannon Airport is in County Clare, and it's an option to fly into rather than flying into Dublin for some people coming from the East Coast. There's flights there from Boston and New York. But it means that you're right into the tourist area. You don't have to travel down, so it does save a half a day or a day. It's a nice small airport. I love small airports.
Yeah, myself. I love small airports, and especially now, the smaller the airport, the better, right? So
that's it.
And then obviously, because you are right in the center of town, you can do a lot of the things that are important as a tourist, the must-sees, but then you can spend more time on the off the beaten path, which is really super important, especially nowadays as we want to do some more social distancing and but yet still explore. So we want to be able to have those places that certainly allow us for the elbow room.
Yes, well, Shannon is very close to Limerick City, and there's a picture there of the cliffs of Moher, and they would be on the list of must-sees for most people if it's their first trip to Ireland.
I think if it's the first or fifth, everybody still wants to go back.
Yes, but what makes them unique is that they're 8 miles long, the range of cliffs. Like there's other cliffs around the coast, but the cliffs of Moher are very special. But if you have a private guide, then the guide can manage, it is on the Atlantic coast, so if the weather is going to be showery or whatever, we can manage that and, tailor the trip around that. Because there's another picture there in the top left corner of the Burren, and it's a glacial karst region, and it's a very unique region. There's nowhere else like it in the rest of the country. And again, it's a learning curve. If you have, teenagers or whatever studying their geography, it's nothing like visiting that area.
Absolutely. Geography is an awesome class, let me tell you. So I certainly appreciate it. And then the picture on the lower right-hand side.
Well, that's the Burren yoga retreat. And it's very close to the cliffs of Moher, and you can see that you're looking out on the Atlantic Ocean. So you can go there for a day or a longer stay, whatever you like.
So great wellness opportunities as well to be able to combine with your trip.
That's it. And those would be available along the whole of the Wild Atlantic Way, really. There's lots of sustainable small enterprises. which
that's
are
awesome.
very unique.
One of the things that I love about Ireland is that there's so many smaller enterprises. It's not just all these big hotels and things like that. There are these small boutique home, they're truly local hosts, and everybody's willing to be your, to be your guide and tell you all of the secrets about their place.
Yeah, and they're interested in meeting you as well, and I think that's what makes Ireland special. That they actually genuinely have an interest in the people that are visiting there. But there was a picture just in the last slide, I should mention it, of Adair Manor, because it's a great place for people interested in food. They've got 104 bedrooms and 50 chefs, and they've got recently got a Michelin star for one of their restaurants. And it's owned by a philanthropist called J.P. McManus, and he's put a big investment into Adair Manor. It's a beautiful place to stay, and it has a golf course where the Ryder Cup will be held in 2025. So if your partner wants to play golf and you are interested in wellness, they have a lovely spa, and then the food will be really excellent.
And with 50 chefs, you're going to have food at your beck and call. How amazing!
I know. One chef for every 2 rooms.
So let's talk about Galway and Mayo. It's
Yep. Well, Galway is a really lively city. It's a university town full of young people, and there's a Latin quarter, lots of music and small restaurants and everything. But given the times that we're in, if you decide that you want to stay in County Galway, there's lots of options out there. And one thing that people like to do in Galway and in other counties is to go riding on the beach, horse riding on the beach. And that's something that I like arranging for people, because I grew up with horses myself.
I would have never have pictured riding on the beach in Ireland, and look at that. You can do that there too. Oh,
yeah.
I'm so in love.
You can do it in Kerry or Galway or Mayo. And there's a picture there of Ashford Castle as well. And that's one of the most sought after luxury 5-star hotels that we have. It was built in the 13th century, but it's in the style of a French chateau. And it's got over 80 rooms, and it's a really wonderful experience to stay there for a few days. And there's lots of activities on the estate. Now, it is 5-star, but you really get, it's a wonderful treat, really, to stay there.
That's awesome. And everybody likes that luxury piece, right? So we all want to have a little bit taste of, not just being with your local host, but also having that pamperedness. And I think that's certainly a great opportunity. So,
and if there's lots of activities on the estate, including falconry and horse riding and sailing and things. But there's also a lot available locally. And one that I like to take people to is an oyster farm right on the ocean, where you can meet the maker. We've lots of opportunities, whether it's a cheese maker, an ice cream parlour, an oyster farmer. There's lots of opportunities in Ireland to meet the maker. And again, they're interested in meeting you.
Yeah.
So they usually show you around and maybe have lunch with you or whatever. And that's a nice activity.
And your history is being in that cheese making part of the world. So
yes, for 15 years I was marketing Irish cheeses and visiting the producers and bringing journalists there and buyers and everything. So it's what I know, going back over the years.
So you guys, for all of my cheese lovers, we have the perfect person for you to take you around Ireland, and you can eat your way through Ireland through cheese.
Yes, and one time I went to the American Cheese Society's conference in Wisconsin, so the cheese community is quite small, so I do have some friends still in the States in the cheese business that keep in touch with.
Absolutely.
But we have very good cheeses in Ireland. We have over 100 varieties of cheese. So people are surprised by that, and
it is. It's a surprising, but it's amazing, right? Because every opportunity that you guys have to create your own, you're doing it. So certainly, great opportunities. So moving on, we've got the next page on your beautiful presentation, and these are great places. Let's talk about them a little bit.
Well, Sligo and Donegal, there wouldn't be as many people visiting as, say, Kerry and Clare, but that doesn't mean that they're any less beautiful. They're really on the road less travelled. And there's a picture there of Loch S Wellness Retreat, which is a castle in itself. And if you went there for 3 days or so, you'd have the opportunity to visit the beautiful scenery in Donegal. Again, if your relatives happened to be from that area of the country, I'd recommend visiting Donegal. And it is at the top of Ireland. We saw it, it's the end of the wild Atlantic Way. But you can continue
I
on.
think everyone should just go because it's off the beaten path, and why not? I mean, it's not something that's going to be crowded, and look at the beauty that you are going to experience while you're there.
Yeah, and there's beautiful sandy beaches and golf courses and things to do as well. So, and the people are really friendly. And you can continue along the coast then to Northern Ireland. A brief version of the history is that the English ruled Ireland for 400 years, and when there was troubles, the English retreated and they were left with 6 counties. So they still have Northern Ireland, the 6 counties. But for tourism, we're all one, and there hasn't been any trouble up there for over 20 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, many people are visiting Northern Ireland. The Giant's Causeway would be a famous UNESCO heritage site along the coast up there, and the Culloden Bridge that I have in the picture is very near the Giant's Causeway.
Oh, that's awesome. And the one thing that it also makes it really interesting is that you have in Northern Ireland you have the British pound, but the rest of Ireland has a euro.
That's right, yes.
So
usually,
as you cross the border,
they take both
currencies.
Well, usually in Northern Ireland, they'll take the euro as well.
Oh, okay, they will. That's awesome.
Yeah. There's a picture there of beech trees that were filmed on a famous road used in the Game of Thrones. So there's lots of people with teenagers that have Game of Thrones fans in their house, and that can be a tour in itself to see the sights.
Absolutely. I have a lot of Game of Thrones, Outlander, and all of those kind of fans as part of our viewers, and they certainly are always looking for an opportunity to see something that was on their film sets. So
yes,
so super awesome here. So
I have a picture of just one more there, the Titanic Museum in Belfast City. Belfast is very interesting for foodies as well, because there's a market and there's lots of Michelin restaurants and really good restaurants. It's a lovely place to visit for lunch. But apart from going along the coast to get to Belfast, it's very doable from Dublin. It's only 2 hours. You can take a train up for the day, or else we can be your guide and take you up there. But if you go to Belfast by train, it's hard to get out to the Giant's Causeway. So, but there's enough to see in Belfast City if that's what you decide to do.
Yeah, no, I think that Belfast should certainly be something that you plan as part of the itinerary. Again, because of the Titanic and all the history behind that whole area.
Right, that's a good idea. So, just going on then to the next slide.
Mm-hmm. Ireland East.
Well, that's the areas close to Dublin, the counties close to Dublin, going down south of Dublin as well. And I've shown Wicklow there, Powerscourt Estate. It's only 15 miles from Dublin, and the county Wicklow, which is known as the Garden of Ireland. And it's owned by the Slazenger family, who make tennis rackets and golf clubs, and they still manage that estate. And the gardens are the thing to see there, but they also have a whiskey distillery, which is a very good experience. We have a growing number of small little craft distilleries. One of them is even on a farm that I take visitors to.
Oh my God.
So it's a growing industry. It's a bit like the cheesemakers 20 years ago or so. They were just developing, and the whiskey distilleries are the same now, whiskey and gin. And on the right-hand side is a picture of Glendalough. It's a monastic city dating back to 900 and 800 BC. AD.
I was going to say, what history? But even so, still for AD, that's still quite a bit.
And Michelle Obama and her daughters visited the lake and the monastic city of Glendalough not so long ago, when they were in the White House.
And from what I
And
hear, there's a tour in Dublin that actually talks about the Obamas' Irish history.
yeah, well, I think the man called Henry, who's eighth cousin of Barack Obama, and when they visited, they met up with their relatives. So
See, everybody's linked to Ireland some way, somehow.
that's it. And then, of course, we have the Kennedys, because south of Wicklow is Wexford, and that's where the Kennedy family came from. And JFK visited in 1963. So sadly, that was probably one of his last visits. But his grandparents came from there, and there was a new bridge opened only a few weeks ago that's called the Rose Kennedy Fitzgerald Kennedy Bridge. So we value our connection with the Kennedy family.
Awesome.
So in the picture there's I'm showing Dublin. It's in the song by Percy French. They talk about Dublin's fair city, and it's a Viking city, but we're proud of our Georgian squares. There's 5 Georgian squares, and even in London they don't have all those coloured doors like we have. But going back in the 18th century, the professional people would have lived in those squares and maybe had their consulting rooms, if you were a doctor or a lawyer, in the house, and then you would have lived in the second and third floor. And then they might have had a house out in the country as well. So those squares have been well preserved. And Dublin's very much a walking city. So it's possible to do a 2 or 3 hour walking tour. There's plenty, or I can take people. And many people like to visit the Guinness storehouse, where Guinness is brewed. And back in the day, Guinness employed 10,000 people in Dublin, and they were very good employers, and they provided housing for their employees and everything. But today they employ approximately 1,500 people, but it's still a big enterprise.
Yeah, very, very cool. Wow.
Of course, we're very proud of James Joyce, who wrote Ulysses, because he was born in Dublin, and Ulysses was set on the 16th of June 1904, and it was really about life on the day. And that day is now immortalised and called Bloomsday, and people dress up in the costume of the day, and revisit the sites. So we have a new museum of literature in Dublin, and a lot of it is devoted to James Joyce and his books.
That's super awesome.
So that's just a picture of the Halfpenny Bridge in Dublin. They used to charge a half a penny to cross the bridge. Dublin is on the River Liffey, and it divides the city in two, between the north side and the south side, and we have a lot of jokes and everything between north-siders and south-siders.
I think that every city that has a bridge that divides it has something similar.
Yes, I know.
That's great. I mean, it's obviously something, local flavors on both sides of the bridge.
That's it. But we're all the same, really. There's not much difference.
Of course.
The Dubliners might be able to tell the difference. And on the right is the 200-year-old library in Trinity College, where the Book of Kells is shown. And as I said earlier, I studied in Trinity College and lived in the front square for a year. So I always like bringing people to see Trinity College.
And you can get lost in the architecture of just the arches from the library on the top as well. It's absolutely stunning.
Of course, Queen Elizabeth visited there a few years ago as well.
Yeah.
I just have a few of my favorite places there.
Yes.
Ross Castle
country was your favorite place.
Oh, definitely. But Ross Castle is on the lakes of Killarney, and that's very special, and it's been very nicely restored, and you really learn a lot by visiting and doing the tour of the castle, because they've kept it, very authentic. And then that's a picture on the right of the Newgrange burial chamber. At that time, going back 5,000 years, they valued their dead more than their living. And that was a burial chamber for approximately 20 people. And the earlier picture showed the excavation, and there's actually 97 huge big stones all around it. And what it shows us is that back in those days, they weren't just hunter-gatherers, they were archaeologists and scientists and engineers, because they managed to bring all those materials from quite a long distance along the coast and place them. And then there's a light box over the entrance. And on the longest and the shortest day of the year, the sun shines right back into the back of the tomb. So to achieve that and to figure that all out 5,000 years ago was very ahead of their time, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we look at a lot of the different Mayan cultures and some of even the Greek cultures and things like that, where we see all these temples that have, you know, these abilities that we just kind of go, how did they do that without technology? Because today, without technology, we're a little lost.
That's it. They really were. They were scientists. They had it all figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, our few Gaelic words.
That means thank you. But I was going to make the point that if you wanted to see, you know, north and south and the whole of the Wild Atlantic Way and Dublin, you really need about 10 days. But if you have 7 or 8 days, you can see some of the Wild Atlantic Way and maybe Dublin. And then if you want to leave Dublin out, you'll obviously have time to maybe take a boat trip to the Aran Islands or Skellig Michael or something. So we can tailor, working with you, Lulu, we can tailor an itinerary very much curated,
Yes.
You know, is what you do.
Yes,
so,
everything that we do is completely curated.
Yeah.
So, and so everybody who works with me always has that, you know, what's important to them and how do we meet their needs. And so you guys, Corinne and I will work together to make sure that you have that amazing itinerary. So I'm super excited that she was able to come here and give us her passion and her secrets of Ireland today. And I'm looking forward to have her, you know, come back and do some deep diving into different parts. And
that would be great. I'll be looking forward to that.
Awesome. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. This was an amazing, inspirational opportunity now during the time of COVID, but hopefully we'll be able to be, you know, to cross borders real soon and start planning those great itineraries. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, just that our tourist board is planning already, you know, for next year and for hotels opening up and everything. And we have a great tourist board. It's called Fáilte Ireland. The word means welcome. Fáilte means welcome. So we'll be delighted to welcome you when you can travel to get over here soon.
I'm super excited for all of that. So 2021 travel is being planned now. So if you guys are ready, I'm happy to help you guys start that process. So with that, I want to say thank you, Corinne. I really, again, appreciate your time.
And thank you, Lulu, for having me.
Namaste until the next time.
Okay, thank you. Slán.
Bye-bye.
Bye.